know if you got your popcorn ready. Do you got your popcorn ready?
All day, every day.
Good morning, my neighbors!
That's why these two guys here, these are the men I want as my friends. They're the new blood.
It's that time of the week for the Detroit Sports Podcast. The DocNJock program is on the air. Joining me is my co-host, the Jock, Adam Strozinski. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. We are doing the podcast for the #1 sports town in America, according to the USA Today poll.
Bam, bitches. Oh, the big 6-0. DocNJock.
What's happening, cuz? What's up, my friend?
Not so much, brother. How you been?
Man, it was such a great weekend. Going into this week, we got a lot to talk about. I'm excited to do this podcast. This is the best time of year for someone who's a big, huge Detroit sports fan, and I'm ready to tackle all the issues that are going on, man. I can't wait.
We got a ton of them.
We got a lot of stuff to get to, but before we get into all the issues of the day, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, I went to tailgate for the MSU homecoming. I had a great time. It was amazing. Got down there early. We got the perfect tailgating spot. Like 2 blocks from the stadium, you got to see all the co-eds walking early to the stadium, had a couple brews, and had a great time. So I'm with the crew, having a good time. I brought a 12-pack of assorted like German beers. You know, I'm drinking my beer, having a good time, and a buddy's like, hey, try this. And, you know, you're at a tailgate, you want to try something, and it's red strawberry ale. So I drink it. I'm like, it was nice and cold. I'm like, dang, this stuff is good. I liked it. So I just got a quick question. Does that affect my man card in any way, drinking strawberry flavored beer?
No. You're really weird.
No, because I like cherry flavored beer. Whenever I go after hockey, I usually get 2 or 3 cherry wheats. So no, I don't think so.
Okay, so Reds. So is Reds? Is that the company that makes like apple? They
Yes.
make apple beer. They make different flavored beers.
Yes.
It was good. I was enjoying it.
Their apple one is outstanding.
Really?
And I love Angry Orchard's apple flavored.
So is Red something you
hard
is
cider or
Red
whatever.
something is Red something you can find on tap? Can you find it locally at the bars around town, or something you just really got to get to stores?
The strawberry flavor, I don't think they're going to have that at too many bars, and I don't think they're going to have it on draft, but I know if you go to the grocery store, you go stop in at Kroger or Meijer or wherever, I know you can pick it up there. Bottles will be your best bet if you're going to go to the bar.
Doc had a great time at MSU's homecoming. It was such a great game. We whooped on Wyoming. And I was really surprised. There was a heavy contingent of Wyoming fans in the corner where I was sitting, and I was like, wow, they were cheering loudly, and they broke off a couple big runs, and they kept it interesting early on, and then Michigan State just got rolling, and they blew them out. So Michigan State's offense was smooth, and by the time the middle of the second quarter hit, Connor Cook was already out of the game. It was all good, very entertaining. I was like, wow, I can see why now the NFL is leaning toward heavily punishing the defenses, because when all those touchdowns, it was fun. I'm not going to lie. I had a good time.
That's cool. I didn't really have the same good time as you. I was in Ann Arbor for the debacle that just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, the Michigan program, and it's a complete disaster right now over in Ann Arbor. It just keeps, it's a dumpster fire, and it's surrounded by a gas station and by 55-gallon drums of gasoline that just keep igniting and exploding.
So I'm curious, do you want to start off with the Wolverines? The whole ordeal going on at Michigan is something that Doc and Jock have to talk about. But do you want to start off with something positive, like our Detroit Lions kicking ass out there in New York? Or do you want to get right into it and go down that road of talking about the terrible, terrible state of affairs at the University of Michigan?
Let's just head right down misery lane. Let's just go right into Go Blue and their football.
Okay, cuz then let's get right at it. Let's tackle it. Okay, not only now is the University of Michigan embarrassing themselves in the program on the field, the debacle that occurred as a result of the Shane Morris incident is just compounding what has turned out to be a miserable season for Michigan. You got Brady Hoke communicating to the media and then basically contradicting himself the next day when Dave Brandon issues a statement at 1 o'clock in the morning saying that, yeah, I spoke to Hoke regarding the manner. And the media's asking him and he's trying to sidestep it. It just goes to show you that from the president to the athletic director to the head coach of the football team, everything is just a big, colossal mess up. And right now, I've never heard of students banding together to go protest to fire the athletic director of a program.
Which I'm proud of those students for doing, by the way.
Several students protested because at this point in time, they just feel alienated by Dave Brandon. They just feel completely neglected. They feel like they're getting milked. They're getting fleeced, that Dave Brandon just wants what's in their pocket. And that's why you see every single week dozens and dozens and dozens of empty seats at the University of Michigan. Michigan is in the toughest spot they've ever been in because, one, the play on the field has been porous. Two, you have a head coach who, with each passing week, shows that he's incompetent. When you send out a player who's obviously injured and everybody around you is like, whoa. I mean, instantly the announcers were like, whoa, this is a travesty. What's going on? And it just goes to show you that, you know what, we keep joking around that, hey, Brady Hoke, when are you going to wear that headset? But in all honesty, if you look at it seriously, he needs to wear one so that people can communicate with him like, whoa, someone could have gotten in his ear and said, hey, wait a minute, Shane got knocked out. Shane looks wobbly. Something's wrong with Shane. You can't send him back out there. The whole situation is just really, really scary because, we've talked about it on several different podcasts. The issue with concussions is very serious, and Michigan definitely took a big step backwards in terms of player safety, in terms of sending a player out there who was obviously shaken.
Yeah, let's just start with the Shane Morris situation, okay? It's not even so much that Morris is even the issue. It's been the direction that the university's been slipping towards since Rich Rod was hired. Then David Brandon was installed as the AD. And now the issue with Shane Morris is he's become the rallying cry for this team. Everything has kind of built and built and built. And now this was a straw that kind of broke the camel's back. It went from being really, really bad to getting that much worse now. Dave Brandon comes in, and Dave Brandon doesn't really do things the right way. He doesn't do it the Michigan way, and I'm using finger quotes here. He comes in, and basically it's all about dollars over cents for him. It's all about making that quick buck for him, and it's not about doing things the proper way. He sat there, he did that stupid flyover at Michigan State Stadium when the Michigan State was playing football a few years ago. That was uncalled for. He sat there, he did the whole thing with the Coke, basically giving away tickets for the Minnesota game. That's not how Michigan operates. It's all just been one giant catastrophe after another. Then you have Brady Hoke come out, and apparently he wasn't given information from the training staff. He then steps in and says, oh, there was no concussion, none of this. Brandon comes out at 1 o'clock in the morning, which was just Bush League and childish, and releases a statement basically chucking Hoke underneath the bus. He basically backed an 18-wheeler up over him and just left it crushing him, saying, yeah, he's got a mild concussion. There was some miscommunication that went on. Why are you communicating at 1 o'clock in the morning? Were you hoping that nobody would pick up on this? I mean, what are you doing?
I think that's the new PR standard, is just release the statement at 1. People will wake up and just start talking about it. I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand the whole world of PR because it just seems to me that everyone out there, when these crisis situations happens, is just making misstep after misstep, and it's really quite embarrassing.
Well, you know what? If Michigan teaches public relations at the university, they should probably stop right now. Because whoever they have running their public relations is doing a horrible job. This has been a debacle for years now. There is no reason why Dave Brandon should be the athletic director this Saturday for this football game against Rutgers. There is no reason. Hoke, I can understand him writing it out and him kind of getting through till the end of the year, but there is no reason why Dave Brandon should still be here. Dave Brandon should have been fired on Tuesday afternoon after he basically threw Hoke underneath the bus.
Now I want to ask you this. So right now the state of the Michigan program has kind of been an issue that is kind of been looked at by the state of Michigan. But now when news organizations like Good Morning America, ABC News, National News comes and starts talking about, whoa, what's going on over there at Michigan. You got the national media looking at you and kind of looking at you with disdain. And that's just really tough. And unfortunately, right now, the role of the athletic director is to maintain the status of the program and to keep the program out of the national spotlight in terms of negativity. And so the new president, I think it's Mr. Schlichel or something like that, needs to kind of really seriously consider removing Dave Brandon. But I want to ask you this. If Dave Brandon is let go and a new athletic director is brought in and Hoke remains, would that appease you, or would you still be pissed?
No, Hoke's got to go too.
They both have to go.
Hoke has shown that he is not a competent football coach, at least not at this level. He can maybe handle a MAC school, but he can't do it here. You said it in your opening statement. He needs to wear a headset. If he was wearing a headset, anybody up in the booth would have been able to get on the headset and be like, yo, Shane got hit in the face. He's shook up. We need to pull him. He needs to be looked at. But nobody on that sideline apparently was aware of what was going on. Apparently everybody on that sideline follows the football. Nobody watches to see what's going on behind the play, which is just a catastrophe. The way this program is set up on that football sideline is just one giant mistake and one giant misstep after another. This is just ridiculous what goes on there. He can't handle his own staff. He's got people in place who don't know what they're doing. He doesn't want to wear a headset, which then translates and trickles down to the rest of this program. If there was somebody up in a booth with a headset on, they could have radioed down and said, hey, Brady, this isn't a good deal. Maybe call a timeout, see if he's okay. Instead, he sits there, plays the kid. The kid almost collapses on the field, has to get held up by his lineman. Then he goes, he makes another play, throws a bad pass, okay? I mean, Funches didn't really help him out at all trying to get open on the play, but he threw a bad pass. Then he pulls himself, and then when he goes on the sideline, Gardner comes in, his helmet pops off. How is this kid then pulling himself up by basically his bootstraps and going back out there to play another play? And then Hoke comes out and says, well, he did everything right. He checked out of the play. He checked to the proper run. He seemed like he was all there. Really? He seemed like he was all there? Where's your neurologist? Where's the guy on the sideline who's supposed to be conducting a concussion test? You know what? He had his thumb in his butt, and he was 50 yards down the field. It's just a giant catastrophe. And the worst part is they just keep opening their mouth and inserting their foot. It's just be quiet. You don't need to come out and release statements. Take care of things behind closed doors. And then, Brandon, what are you doing? All you're doing is you're just making things worse when you come out. And why does Dave Brandon have to show up at the press conference with Brady Hoke? I mean, why do they have to hold hands for this damn thing? What the hell's going on here?
Did you also hear the news that 10 years ago Brady Hoke was cited for lack of regard for player safety?
No, I didn't hear this.
Yeah, he was cited 10 years ago at a previous job, one of the minor jobs. I don't know if it was Ball State or somewhere else. He was cited for lack of regard for player safety. So he has a history of it. And
the worst part is his comments the next day, basically saying that if you're operating at 100%, then there's something wrong. Really, Brady Hoke? Really? If you're operating at 100%, then there's something wrong, then you obviously aren't giving enough, is basically what he said, which I just think is an asinine comment. That's just stupid.
Yeah, I just think that it would have behooved Michigan to maybe take one extra day and just let everything settle and then come out together with a statement so that everybody got on the same page and just let it settle. I think they just were in a rush to make a statement because everyone was talking about it. But at the same time, I think they should have just took their time, make sure that they had gotten everybody on the same page and make the right statement. And because what's hilarious is, and what everyone's talking about is, would there be such an uproar if Michigan had a successful season going on, if they were 5-0? People are saying, well, this is a witch hunt. People are just piling on that this is something that would be ignored if the Wolverine program was in a better spot. And my opinion is this. Right now, everyone is kind of looking at the state of football this way. Player safety is right at the top of things that everyone's looking at because you have an increase in violence in National Football League players. You have an increase in suicidal actions, ideations. You have an increase in aggressive behaviors. So they're looking at, well, where does this start? It starts with a hit similar to what Shane Morris took. And if it's not treated properly, then a kid like Shane Morris down the line could be seriously injured, or had he not had a concussion, he could be prone to further concussions down the line. And so right now, unfortunately, this isn't our grandpa's football anymore, where we just glorify big hits and we glorify those who get up and play in the game. Unfortunately, right now, we are in a situation where we have to monitor these players. we have to make sure their safety is top priority. And unfortunately, the job of a head coach is not just X's and O's. It's to make sure that these players are graduating. It's making sure that they're, not getting in trouble for negative things. And it's also making sure that you put them in the best spots to not get injured. And Brady Hoke didn't do that. And the reaction was a joke. It was very disappointing that Michigan has stooped to this kind of putting, kind of insulting the fans like we don't know what's going on. Everyone this day and age is connected. We all can speak and share and watch videos and share information. So if Michigan is going to go forward with this attitude, I think that the fans are going to continue to become angrier and they're going to stop supporting Michigan. Have you gotten to that point? Yeah, I mean, you say you go to Ann Arbor, you watch the games, you have drinks with your friends, and you still support this team. And I asked you, are you ready? I've lived through it. Bobby Williams at Michigan State, John L. Smith, that whole era was terrible for the Michigan State program. And so I almost got to the point where I didn't care because of the laughable actions of the coaches at Michigan State. And now it's gotten to the point at Michigan where I'm almost starting to, really become apathetic and I feel bad for you to support a team that's acting and doing these type of things.
At this point, I could have had really affordable, really cheap tickets to go to the Michigan-Minnesota game. I refused to pay the money to go watch them play. Instead, I went to Ann Arbor, I sat in a bar, I watched it with a group of friends, and we basically commiserated by drinking pitchers and pitchers and pitchers of beer because the product was so bad. The worst part of everything that is going on, when a guy like Kurt Herbstreit, I'm going to call Kurt Herbstreit out, when a guy like Kurt Herbstreit, who I have a lot of respect for, I think he does a really good job at what he does. I think he's a very good college broadcaster. I think he has a great wherewithal for what is going on with these programs, and I think he does a great job articulating what it is that he wants to say and how he wants to say it. When a guy like Kurt Herbstreit comes out and basically claims that this is a witch hunt for Brady Hoke, I think Kurt needs to take a step back and really look at what's going on. This has really nothing to do with the record. The record has a little bit, and that's where a lot of the vitriol comes from. But when it comes to Shane Morris, this was a systematic breakdown of this coaching staff and this athletic department. And this has been going on for years now. This isn't a one-time incident. All right, this was a one-time incident that played out on a national spotlight, and that's why everybody is so up in arms about it. But there's been a systematic breakdown since Dave Brandon has taken over and has done things at the university. It's just this one was done at such a monumental scale and picked up steam so quickly. And now everybody is seeing what is going on. These things have been going on since Rich Rod was there. Dave Brandon stepped in and made things 10 times worse, just exacerbated a really bad situation. And Brady Hoke was placed in there, and Brady Hoke was basically Dave Brandon's puppet. And what you're seeing now is Dave Brandon's trying to cut the strings to the puppet and just basically say, here you go, this is the scapegoat, he's the problem, he's the issue, because he's trying to save his own ass. This can't happen. Dave Brandon has to go, and Brady Hoke has to follow, because Brady Hoke has proven time and time again that he cannot handle this type of job. He can't handle this spotlight. There is talent on this team. Whether you want to break it down and say that maybe Shane Morris isn't that good, maybe Devin Gardner's put in a bad spot and he can't really succeed because of what's going on. Maybe that offensive line is putrid. Maybe that defensive line is horrible. All right, but there are players on this team who are talented, and with the right coach, somebody who could come in. You see what D'Antonio does with 3-star guys, 2-star guys. He sits there and gets you to a Rose Bowl and you win the damn thing. With the right coach, the right athletic director, and with just some unison to move this program forward and not worry about making dollars hand over fist, because that's what Brandon's thing is. He wants to make money. He's basically pimping the Block M. If you sit there and you don't do that, if you don't do these things and you come in and you just coach football, and you just let the football program go back to being what the football program was when, say, a guy like Charles Woodson was there, when you had a blue jersey with a maize number, and that's all it was. It wasn't anything about these stupid pinstripes. It wasn't anything about these crazy ornate uniforms. It was just good, hard-nosed football, and it was all about W's over L's. If you get back to that, a lot of these problems will be solved. But in order to get there, you got to get rid of a guy like Brandon. You got to get rid of a guy like Hoke. And you need to bring some new culture in there. And they need to sit there and start repairing this, because right now the university is basically on fire. It's just burning to the ground. And at this point, I say burn it all the way to the ground. Burn it into the ground. Just let there be nothing but ash and rubble, and then let's rebuild. Let's start over. Let's start over as a brand new Michigan, something better.
And to add to the misery for the program, one of their recruits already decommitted for next year. You have to kind of consider that too when you think about firing a guy like Brady Hoke, is that you got a class of players that have committed to him. Are you going to be comfortable losing those players if you fire them?
That's already happened. You've had basically the number 7 overall recruit as a defensive lineman said, I'm out. The kid's got offers from Alabama, and he was committed to the University of Michigan, so you know that kid can play. You know he's a stud. If Nick Saban's going after him, you know that kid can do things. He said, I'm out. He said, I'm done.
So in any part of your thinking, I'm trying to appeal to your sensitive side here. Rich Rod was blasted out of here. He's now in Arizona doing some things, and you kind of seen that he was building an offensive juggernaut, kind of neglected the defense, but the players that he recruited farther along provided Brady Hoke with an 11-2 season and won the Sugar Bowl. Any part of you think that if Brady Hoke is still around, that he can develop into a coach that can get something out of these players? Because people are slowly but surely coming out and saying, listen, Brady Hoke, please think about backing off, that he's a really good coach, that if we just let him do his thing, build his program, that if we just wait 2-3 years down the line, he could develop into a really great coach. Does any part of you see that? Because I'm trying to look myself, but I have green, foggy covered glasses, and so all I see is that Michigan stinks, I'm happy, I'm great, I want to leave Brady Hoke there. But, someone that watches the program and follows it and really cares about Michigan, does any part of you see potential in Brady Hoke? Or is it just done? You've seen enough. This season has been a disaster. Time to cut him.
I think you got to let him go. There's no way. After everything that has occurred, how can you look at this man and how can you feel any semblance of you're going to have success with him? I don't know how these players are going to play out the rest of the season for him. I think that's going to be the tough part. How does a guy like Shane Morris, who you basically left me out there to kind of fend for myself, I know I waved you off, but I'm a player. That's what I do. How do you have any trust for this guy? I don't think you have the trust. I think that locker room has been lost. I don't think that it's even possible. This guy is entering his 4th season as the Michigan head coach. At this point, he has his entire draft, his entire recruiting class in there. He's got everything that he's needed, and he still can't produce a winning product. I mean, you're losing games to teams like Utah. You're losing games to Minnesota, and you're not losing them in like a shootout fashion or even a nail biter. You're getting blown out. Your defense is scoring more points than your offense. This is bad. This is really, really bad.
Okay,
I think he's got to go. Okay. He has to go.
Okay, keep an eye out, because there are reports surfacing that just maybe Brady Hoke may not be gone like everybody wants, and that Brandon may be the surefire guy to take the fall for what's been going on. So just keep an eye on it, and we'll follow it here on the Detroit Sports Podcast as well.
The thing is, Brandon has to go. If you're going to get a new coach in here, Brandon has to go. There's no way you can get a new coach in here with Brandon here. Nobody wants to come and play for this guy. There's been the rumors and the speculation that Brandon and Hoke watch game tape together. No other athletic director does that. No other head coach allows that to happen. It's not the way things get done. It's not how things operate. So if you're a big-time head coach, you're not coming here underneath those conditions. You're just not dealing with it. It's not how it operates. And we will follow this, because this is a very emotional issue for me. I get very worked up about this. I was going off today at work talking to one of the guys I work with, and I ended up losing it, and I just had to walk out of the room.
It's kind of nice to see Michigan struggling. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I bet you feel good about this.
Meanwhile, Michigan State was rolling versus Wyoming, and it was just a good time. So things are looking up for Michigan State, and they got a tough test versus Nebraska and Michigan. We got to have a moratorium on Michigan, because I think we've opened the last couple podcasts bashing Michigan, and they may lose again versus Rutgers. But at this point in time, we've said our piece regarding Michigan, and now we just got to sit back and watch and make sure they, quote-unquote, get it right in the next situations that they deal with. Stay with us. We're going to talk about positive things in the state of Detroit sports. Following the break, we are going to talk about our Detroit Lions sitting pretty at 3-1 atop the NFC North. Stay tuned.
I'm Megan McCormick out here in Fox Sports LA, and when I'm not sitting out in the sun, I'm listening to the Detroit Sports Podcast.
You got to check out their stuff. I mean, I'm really impressed by it. You guys have probably one of the better ones I've seen in the country.
Wow.
In a short period of time, you've done good work. Look at me kissing your hand.
I know.
Thank you for the continued support for the Detroit Sports Podcast. Everyone that follows us and sends us messages on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, everyone that goes to our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. We greatly appreciate those who support us and give us motivation to continue to do this podcast week in and week out for the number one sports fan in all the United States. And that's why we love doing this podcast, because we get the chance to connect and interact and build a sports community with those that are just as passionate as we are. And we always want to say thanks to the guys, the writers at the Detroit Sports Nation. Check out their great website and Facebook page. All you got to do is search Detroit Sports Nation. Check out their Facebook page, their website. They got great articles, and they're right on top of the sports beat all the time. DetroitSportsNation.com. All right, cuz. Following the debacle at Michigan, Sunday comes around, and it's football Sunday, and we get a chance to set our fantasy lineups. We get a chance to see what's cooking, what's happening across the NFL. And now, this season, the Lions are putting a product that is making me excited for 1 o'clock every Sunday. I'm shocked that this 3-1 feels a little different than last year's 3-1, because for Lions fans, you always kind of are hesitant and you're wondering, man, when's the shoe going to drop? When is something bad going to happen? How are we going to lose a game? And so far, after 4 games, I am loving what I am seeing. Not just the fact that we're winning games, but how we're winning them is just thrilling and exciting and different, because we are winning games defensively. And that's what makes me happy, is that we are getting off the field on third down. We're putting pressure on the quarterback. We are playing lights out defense. And then when it's money time in the fourth quarter, we are making plays that are making us win games. And this is something that is totally different. I mean, cuz when have you seen drives that last like 15 plays, take 6 minutes off the clock, and in each of our victories, we're in the victory formation? That's unheard of for the Lions. All I can say is the games that we're supposed to win, we're winning, and Geno Smith looked horrible. He should have really got himself benched, but the Lions are playing a different style of football than they have in the past, and it starts with defense. Like we've talked about, we said, listen, you can put up as many points as you want, but if you're not great on defense, you're not going to win consistently. And judging by what I'm seeing on the field, we got a consistent defense that can cause damage in this league.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's no doubt about it. This team, this coaching staff has come in and has basically instilled what it wants to instill. It has definitely left its thumbprint on this team over the course of these first 4 games. I think the one thing that just kind of blows your mind a little bit when you look at it and you kind of see what has been going on. Not just how well this defense has played, because we have the number 1 overall defense in all of the National Football League. But if you look at the way this offense has also played, the fact that this offense was able to go out and dominate what was the number 1 overall defense in the NFL without their superstar wide receiver, as well as putting together timely runs and rushes when they needed it. I mean, let's be honest, this running offense does not look that good, but at certain key moments, they're able to sit there and break off long runs to prolong drives and to sit there and matriculate the ball down the field, as well as utilizing other receivers. You had Golden Tate go out there and put up 116 yards. You had Eric Ebron actually learn how to catch the football in the end zone. You have other guys. You had Jeremy Ross sit there and break off a long touchdown for you. So you have other pieces that are coming to fruition and are looking good on that offensive side of the ball, as well as that defense is being able to sit there and stop the run, prevent large passes downfield. This team looks almost like a complete product, which is something that we haven't been able to say about this Detroit Lions team. I think as a Detroit fan, I'm not really sure what else you can be, what else you can expect from this team or what else you want from this team, because I think we are very happy right now. I think they look very good going into this game against Buffalo, and I think that this team, the ceiling, I guess, is kind of, the sky is the ceiling. I mean, that's all you can really say. It's definitely a different shoe to be wearing right now.
What was interesting last week, though, we are kind of getting bit by some weird incidences. The Lions last week, in terms of the news, was kind of odd. You had a report that Matthew Stafford is driving into work 6 a.m. and the Southfield Freeway basically collapsed right in front of him. Literally, within 5 or 10 minutes, he's on the scene and he's out there walking around, looking around like, what the heck is going on here? And also, Joseph Fourier doesn't suit up, doesn't play because he hurt his ankle, stopping his dog from pissing all over his house.
Homie, don't play that.
So those kind of weird stories, that weird aura, something has to change because that's kind of too freaky, too eerie for someone like me. Like, what's going on?
It has been a weird season.
That's a weird season.
It's been a very weird season.
And then, in the game, a captain, Montel Owens, is on IR, the 5th player that's been placed on season-ending injured reserve. We did not escape the game, injury-free, but we won the game, and the Lions this week are going to face an old nemesis in Jim Schwartz, who, not surprisingly, is not going to talk about his time in Detroit at this Friday's press conference. I just think that's going to be funny when we outshine his defense and we light him up, and they come into town, with Kyle Orton. I mean, I just smell a blowout. I kind of got a feeling we could get into high offensive numbers at home versus Buffalo. I think the players are going to want to make a statement. I'm smelling 4-1 real quick.
Yeah, most definitely. The fact that Kyle Orton is your starting quarterback, that guy at the beginning of the season was just trying to find a team to latch onto so he could sit there and just kind of play another season. So now he's your starting quarterback because E.J. Manuel can't seem to do things right over there. And that team, I don't know. I don't know what you can expect from Buffalo at this point. I mean, I feel like they've got pieces where they should be more successful than what they really are. They've got fragile Freddie Jackson. They got C.J. Spiller. They've got Sammy Watkins. I mean, they've got pieces. They just can't seem to put it together. I really feel like they are the Lions from the past 5 seasons. All these bits and pieces, all this good talent, and yet you seem to get in your own way. You tend to trip up and you tend to fall flat on your face. And I really feel like that's what Buffalo is right now. However, I think Detroit has kind of figured it out, and I really like what these coordinators are bringing to the table. I like what Jim Caldwell is doing. I know me and you weren't huge fans of Caldwell when they signed him, but I really feel like he might be the right man for this job, at least right now.
And we have to give credit where credit's due. We sat here and berated the cornerback situation, and Rasheed Mathis and Darius Slay are holding it down. The Lions have only given up 4 passing touchdowns all season.
Yep.
You would expect that Aaron Rodgers could have did that in the game by himself. They're holding their own. Let's look at these defensive rankings. First in total yards against, only allowing 267 yards a game. Second in passing yards, only giving up 186 yards passing. Fourth in total points, only giving up on average 15.5 points a game. And the most telling stat that's come out in the first 4 games, all last year, the defense held offenses under 17 points 3 times. All last year. Lions have already done that in these first 4 games. They've already limited their opponent to 17 points or less 3 times. Oh, that's all you need to know. The Lions right now are playing a defensive style of football that can win you games, and they should be given credit. Sue and Fairley are wreaking havoc. They are playing consistently well together. And, I understand that everyone doesn't really want to focus in on that kind of stuff. They want to know, well, Sue, do you want to stay here? And Sue is doing his best to kind of shoo that away. I mean, the guy has said, listen, he walked up there 4 or 5 weeks ago and said, I'm not going to answer questions about my contract. And yet reports come out that, hey, he might want to play for the Jets or he might want to play for a different team. And, at this point in time, my stance is, if he wants to make the most money possible, then Detroit has to lay down the offer. If they can't do it, he'll go somewhere else. I can't be that miserable because right now he's helping us win. And if he doesn't, can't blame an athlete for wanting to get the most money possible. And it's unfortunate this day and age, but if that's the mindset you got, then I can live with it. I can accept it as long as you're putting down on the field, and he is. But a point of contention, a point that we got to look at is the offensive line is struggling bad. Right now, the offensive line really, really missed Adrian Waddle. You could tell because the combination of Garrett Reynolds and Cornelius Lucas giving up 5 sacks between them. Just judging by the pace of hits that Stafford's taking, he's going to get crushed if this line doesn't play a little bit better. already this year, because if you look at it, Stafford's been sacked 11 times, hit 7, 31 hurries, according to Pro Football Focus. And all of last year, all the complete season last year was only sacked 23 times. So if this offensive line is not going to protect Stafford, his ass is going to be on the ground a lot more. And we can't risk our number one franchise player getting hurt. So that's just one thing that I think that the Adrian Waddle's return is coming at the right time, because Buffalo's defense is sacking the quarterback at a pretty high rate. If we aren't careful and we don't protect Matthew Stafford, then the Lions' offense can stall greatly, and you're going to put even more pressure on that defense. So that's just something that the Lions can improve on, and I think that Jim Caldwell is aware of everything. He's saying the right things, and he's getting this team to improve throughout the season. And if that's all you can ask for, get better week to week, limit the turnovers. The only thing I think they can do a little bit better at as well, they can get a couple more turnovers, I think then they're in a prime position to maybe have a home playoff game.
I think that this Lions offensive line will continue to be a work in progress. I think getting the right players back, getting them healthy, plugging them in, I think that will spell relief for not just Matt Stafford, but also this run game. You know, we've talked about it before. They can't sit there and they can't pass the ball 65 times a game. It's not going to work. That doesn't spell victories in the National Football League. However, you sit there, you get the right pieces in, you get a healthy offensive line, you sit there and you move these guys around a little bit. I think that then helps create new lanes, new running lanes for this rush offense that has looked anemic at certain points in these first 4 games. So I think getting players back, getting them healthy will also help improve this offense and make them more deadly and make them more lethal, and will also keep Matt Stafford upright. So I think that's a good thing. I think you're right. Having these players come back, having them come back healthy, I think this is going to be a very good thing moving forward for this team.
At the end of each show, we do pick the NFL games, and Jock has recommended that we pick each and every Lions game. And I think we both might be kind of foreshadowing. I think we're both going to be picking the Lions to win the game, I'm hoping. Because something that is maybe a concern going forward, although the reports are getting better, Calvin's ankle. I mean, this guy the last couple seasons has kind of battled a wide variety of injuries. You concerned at all that, he may be of the porcelain variety, even though, he's a great decoy, but if he's not 100% healthy, it's going to be tough the rest of the way.
I don't think he's the porcelain variety, but I do think you need to be concerned. He hasn't had a healthy year or a healthy season in probably the last 5 or 6 years. And you've seen what a healthy Calvin Johnson looks like. A healthy Calvin Johnson is deadly. He is lethal. He's probably the best wide receiver in all of the NFL. And I'll argue anybody on that. A banged up Calvin, it's a totally different player. He had 2 catches last week for what I think was like 16 yards. You're right, he's a decoy at that point. He's just kind of out there. He's just kind of running routes. They need him to be healthy if this team is going to succeed. Him and Golden Tate, I think they're a deadly combination. You then factor in Jeremy Ross as your 3rd wide receiver, and then you've got Ryan Broyles probably as your 4th wide receiver. On top of that, you've got a running back core that can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think then that offense looks scary. You minus Calvin Johnson from that, that's a lot of pressure on Golden Tate. It's a lot of pressure on Jeremy Ross, and now you've got these players playing out of position and not doing what you brought them in to do. So I think Calvin has to get healthy, and I think he has to get healthy in a hurry for this offense to succeed and for it to do what it needs to do going forward.
A great addition to the Lions was Golden Tate, and it's nice to see that a player that we pick up makes plays. And James Ahedebo came in, made impactful plays. That's a good thing. And so going forward, you're right. The players coming back have to produce, and I just think that every single day, the Lions got to get better at all phases of the game. And I think with that, I like where we're shaping up. I think we're going to win versus Buffalo. I think the game versus New Orleans is going to be competitive. I'm not sure we can, I'm not sure how I feel about if we can get a victory versus them, because Drew Brees is just, it's tough to bet against Drew Brees, but they're playing great at home. If the Lions can consistently play well, they legitimately could go 6-2 into the bye week. And with the only other loss,
Shut your mouth.
6-2 after 8 games, it could happen. Yes, because I know we've spent 20 minutes talking positive about the Lions.
I know, doesn't it feel weird? It feels dirty almost. You want to go
great.
scrub with a hard bristle brush.
You know what? It's great. Like I said, it's been all good. It's been pretty decent. And the Lions are, like I said, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to the games. Whereas in the past, we were looking at, oh man, how is it possible what can the Lions do to really cause us heartache? And I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think that if the Lions lose games, I think it's going to take a great effort by the other team. And that's all you can really ask for. Stay with us. After the break, we're going to get a chance to give praise to the AL Central Division champs, the Detroit Tigers, and we're going to preview their matchup versus the Orioles. Game 1 is going to take place tonight, and it's going to be a great series. Stay with us. Because it's going to be a great weekend in Detroit. You got the Lions playing the Bills. You got the Tigers in their ALDS Divisional Series versus the Orioles. Don't miss out. You can get tickets to any sporting event in Detroit. Any event that takes place sporting-wise in the city of Detroit, you can get tickets from us at DetroitSportsPodcast.com. DetroitSportsPodcast.com is very user-friendly. We got blogs, you got access to our podcast, you have great sports insight, and you can get tickets to all events at great prices. So don't pay full price. Don't wait till the last minute and go down and try and work with the scalpers down there. Go down there with ticket in hand by visiting DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Tickets through us are guaranteed. It's DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Get your tickets to any event in the city through us. Seats are guaranteed authentic, and don't pay full price to go watch the great teams here in Detroit. Speaking of great teams, cuz the Tigers did it. We all watched from game 1. We rode the roller coaster with them through the whole season, and it paid off after game 162. And
They made that interesting, huh?
That's how you watch. That's, you know what, like we've said in previous podcasts, that's how you do it. You know what? I'd rather win the division like that and the final game than to have a 10-game lead and just roll into the playoffs. Because before we get into the Tigers, did you catch any of the KC athletics game?
Yeah, I caught a little bit of it.
I was too tired. I fell asleep.
Did you?
I couldn't make it through.
I was following a lot of it on my phone because I had a class last night, but I kind of caught the end of it there. And dude, KC, that's a team to maybe be a little bit nervous about. Hopefully they can do some of our heavy lifting because I don't really want to face that Angels team. But we got to get by Baltimore first, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on Baltimore. I'm going to be honest with you. I really do. I think this Baltimore team is set up very similar to how our Tigers are set up, and I kind of want your take on what your thoughts are about Baltimore.
I like Baltimore's lineup as a team. I like their pitching staff. I really love their bullpen. But I think one area that we're catching a break on is 3 of their big superstars are out. I mean, you got first baseman Chris Davis popping Adderall for some godforsaken reason, gets himself suspended. Catcher Matt Wieters is gone, and the big injury for the Orioles, third baseman Manny Machado. Those are tough injuries that they're going to have to overcome. But they have the players to do it. I like what Buck Showalter did this year. He's a great. I like him as a manager, so I'm not underestimating him at all. I'm giving him full respect. I looked at the numbers in terms of their pitchers. The Orioles have great pitching stats, cuz let's just think about it like this. Between the Orioles starting staff and the Tigers starting staff, who do you think had lower numbers in terms of ERA?
Initially, I would say the Tigers, but I know that's not the case.
Nope.
I did my research here.
Exactly. Baltimore, 5th in the American League in terms of team ERA, in terms of the starters, at 3.6. The Tigers finished 10th at 3.89 in terms of starters ERA. You know, they don't have superstars like we do. We definitely have the edge in terms of starters, no question. But Chris Tillman ain't no joke. Up until his last start, 19 straight starts giving up 3 runs or less. So that's going to be a great matchup. And then you got Verlander going in game 2. I like what Brad Ausmus did. You got Scherzer, Verlander going games 1 and 2. And then you got David Price opening the series in Detroit in game 3. So I like that very much. Right now, the edge goes to the Orioles in terms of the bullpen. Their bullpen is lights out. They can do some damage because they got flamethrowers in there. And so if we're in a tight game and we're down 1 or 2 runs in the 7th or 8th inning, there could be a chance, it could be lights out. We're not going to have some great comebacks. I think this series matches up well for the Tigers in terms of the fact that we have the edge in starters. We have the edge in terms of the hitters. If our big name players just come through, then I think the Tigers are going to advance. My prediction is the Tigers are going to win in 5 games. You got your ace going tonight, Thursday night, versus Baltimore. You get that game. Justin Verlander, has never lost a divisional game. He's not the Justin Verlander of old, per se, but his last 2 starts have been decent and has reminded us of what he can do. And so that's why I think he got the nod for Game 2, and his numbers versus Baltimore are sick. So people are like a little worried, oh, maybe you should have put in David Price in Game 2. I disagree. I think Verlander deserves the nod. I think that he's somebody that has proven that he can deliver the goods in the postseason. And so I'm expecting the Tigers to at least split in Baltimore. And I think overall, I like the Tigers to take this series in 5 games.
I respect that. I disagree with some of it, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit. I think the Orioles are set up very similar to Detroit. They both have a very powerful lineup, which you don't necessarily see in baseball. Both of them have hitters who can sit there and smash the long ball. Baltimore has a little bit less, especially with Chris Davis serving his suspension like you had mentioned. However, they have Tiger killer Nelson Cruz, who we both wanted here earlier in the offseason. He's punched out a Major League best 40 home runs, so you got to watch him. They have a strong starting rotation. And as a pitching staff as a whole, taking in their bullpen and their starting rotation, Baltimore is ranked 7th in the Major League Baseball as opposed to the Tigers, who are ranked 24th. Granted, our bullpen is a giant gas can, and we've talked about this a lot. I know Joe Nathan has kind of turned it around here the last week or so of the regular season, but I still don't trust Sloppy Joe. I just don't do it. I think the key matchup and the thing that the Tigers are going to have to do in order to sit there and advance, I think it's going to have to be their late innings. It's going to be that setup with the pitching split from Baltimore's bullpen and the Tigers' hitters. I think if the Tigers can get to Baltimore's starters and maybe knock them out a little bit early, I think they will have success against this Baltimore team. But they have to get to that bullpen early, and they've got to sit there and they've got to wear these pitchers down, and they've got to get into this rotation, into these lineups of Baltimore early on. They can't sit there and they can't let that starting rotation have success early. The Tigers, I think, basically, their starters are going to have to go out there and give them a solid seven innings every game. You're going to have to look at Max Scherzer to go out there and basically play great baseball. You're going to count on David Price to give you probably 8. You're going to need Verlander to sit there and, like you said, look like he's looked the last 2 games. I don't think Verlander necessarily deserved to get the nod for the second. I think that probably should have been Price. I understand the way Ausmus set it up, trying to give David Price a little bit more rest, trying to sit there and kind of let that arm just kind of be fresh when he goes in there so he can knock them out in Game 3 when they come home.
I disagree with your thinking there in terms of your assessment. I agree that more rest would help, but David Price is prone to give up a lot of home runs. And so that box over there in Baltimore is you can get the ball out of that ballpark easier. And so for a pitcher like David Price, the confines of Comerica are forgiving. So I think putting him in Game 3, in terms of the fact that he gives up home runs, is the reason why the staff as a whole looked at it and said, let's put Price in Game 3. Let them, if they get some hits or some bombs, they can stay in the park in Comerica as opposed to being a launching pad in Baltimore.
You have one game to win, though. Who do you want taking them out? Do you want Verlander or do you want Price?
Oh, that's a great question. If you have one game to win,
we'll say it's for the World Series. We'll put it all online. It's the World Series. Who do you want taking that game?
No, you want David Price. You want Price because he's a strikeout guy. He'll get the guys out.
That's my thinking. I don't care where we're playing. I don't care if we're playing in some sandlot. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I want Price up there all day long because he's going to challenge hitters. He's going to go the distance, and he's going to sit there and he's going to give it everything he's got. And I think he's got more in the tank than Verlander does.
Yeah,
I would go him over Verlander.
The point is this: should Scherzer lose, I think most of us are going to be more nervous with Verlander on the mound than we would be with Price.
Exactly.
So, and a lot of people are saying, well, look what Arizona did when they had Schilling and Johnson. They didn't do that kind of stuff. It was Schilling, Johnson, bam, bam. I can understand where people are like, let's put it all on the line and go Scherzer Price. And Price would be on his regular rest too. So, but I just think that the home run issue plays a role into why he is starting Game 3.
Do you think Verlander's contract plays a factor in all this. I really, me, myself, I think they were looking for any reason they could look to give him the nod for that second game. Not just for his contract, because he's making the big bucks, but to sit there and satisfy that ego of his.
No, I think it's win-win because he's undefeated with great numbers in the divisional series. You got a guy that's closed out the last 2 years, Game 5 in Oakland. So I think it's win-win. The most important thing is, in terms of judging a series, is just win the first game. And then we can worry about Game 2 when Game 2 comes. Because if we overlook Scherzer's start, if he puts up a high number early, Scherzer down the stretch has not been lights out as he was earlier in the season. He has, high pitch counts. In the last couple starts, he's had higher pitch counts. He's given up some hits and runs. So it's going to be very important that we get off to a great start in Baltimore, and then we can worry about Justin Verlander. I would much rather be talking about him being up 1-0 than being down 1-0. And then, quick turnaround, Game 2 is Friday, noon. So half the city of Detroit is going to be trying to figure out a way to tune into that game, calling in or listening on the radio during work. So Friday afternoon is not going to be all that productive. Because I am curious to get your reaction to the likely scenario of 7th, 8th, 9th being Soria, Jabba Chamberlain, Joe Nathan. That's probably, in all likelihood, going to be the scenario that Ausmus uses when it's crunch time. Comfortable with that?
I don't have a problem with it. I think that'll work out. And you know what I do like? I like having Soria in that bullpen. I think that was the one solid pickup that Dave Dombrowski went out and he brought in and really helped solidify that bullpen. Because if Joe Nathan decides to set himself on fire during this playoff series, you can always flip it, and you can force Joe Nathan to be your 7th inning guy, and you could have Soria be your closer. I don't have a problem with that at all. And I like the fact that over the course of this last week, Joe Nathan has, I don't know if it's mechanics, if he's just more focused, if he just kind of figured out how to pitch again. I think he's looked solid this last week, and hopefully he can carry that on. Because of him tidying up a few things and the fact that I like the starting rotation that the Tigers bring to the table, and I do think that the bats are going to get hot. I really do think that the bats are going to help carry this Tigers team. I think they win in 4 games.
Okay, let's check the Twitter mailbag and see what the fans think. I tweeted out there earlier today, tell us your predictions for the Tigers Orioles series, and we got a great response. The King of Pettiness says Tigers in 5. Marc-Andre Pelletier says defense will make a difference. He thinks the Tigers are going to win the series. Shannon Perkey is hoping that Raja can play, but she has Detroit winning 3-1. Frank Novak has the Tigers in 4. The bullpen will blow one of the games in its customary fashion, but he likes the Tigers in 4 games. Marion Maratho thinks that the Tigers are going to shut them down in 3. #time to fly away O's. A fellow podcaster, Danny Bartley, says, not many big-name arms for Baltimore. Tigers should win it in 4, but don't print your ALCS tickets just yet. And finally, one naysayer among the group that tweeted us. Thank you for everyone that has tweeted us at Detroit Podcast. I think we're building a great sports community here in Detroit. I think we're a great place to banter ideas for all the passionate fans in Detroit. So check out our Twitter at Detroit Podcast. Tweet us. Your tweets just may make a podcast. Check us out. Brendan Thompson's the only one that tweeted us kind of thinking the Orioles. He tweeted us and said, Orioles in 5. I don't think the Tigers bullpen is going to be good enough against a very good Orioles lineup. So, I'm not surprised. Most people think that the Tigers are going to win in 4 or 5 games.
And as long as that bullpen doesn't self-destruct, I think Tigers in 4.
Yeah, and I think a great scenario is that you can plug in a guy like Sanchez. Should one of the starters falter early, you can plug in a guy like Anibal Sanchez, and Kyle Lobstein's going to be there, a left-handed reliever that can get outs. Now he's going to be an interesting player, I think, in that bullpen. I think that if he can be an unsung hero, then you have a lot more options in that bullpen, and it doesn't have to be the gas can that it has been. What would be great, cause if we just win the first couple games like 2-1, 1-0, just to shut everybody up, just to show that, hey, we can win close games. We would kind of be excited and be nervous all at the same time and not give up that key hit. Because I'm starting to get those flashbacks of Boston. We were winning, we were close, and then boom, that big inning. And I just don't want that to happen. I just want us to dominate. And another interesting thought with the Tigers, Miguel Cabrera turned down his playoff bonus. I mean,
I love that.
That's unheard of.
I love that.
Is he allowed to do that? That's weird. He just doesn't have to take the check?
He just says, I don't want this. He doesn't have to cash it. But I love that. That shows where his focus is, and that shows the leadership that he brings to this team. He says, you know what? It's not even about the money. I just want the damn ring. Let's go win this World Series. I love that. You never hear of athletes doing that, especially high profile guys like Miguel Cabrera. You don't ever hear guys doing that. I love it. You would never hear Jeter do that. You would never hear A-Rod do that. You'd probably never even hear Mike Trout, who doesn't really get paid too much for what he does out in what is it, Orange County, Orlando, California, San Diego, Colorado, whatever the hell the freaking Angels' name is. You would never hear of guys doing this. But Miguel Cabrera says, you know what? Eat that check. All I want is a ring. I love it.
Did you ever hear that story of Ricky Henderson?
Which one?
Okay, the story.
There's a lot about Ricky Henderson.
The story goes. The story goes. Ricky Henderson gets $1 million check, and he takes it, frames it, and puts it on a wall. Doesn't cash it. So the team that he was playing for at the time is doing their books, and they're like, "We got an extra $1 million." And they start going through, and they're like, they call Ricky into the office. Yo, Ricky, did you cash that check? He's like, no. I'm like, what'd you do with it? And he's like, I put it in a frame and hung it up on the wall. Dude did not cash $1 million check and put it on the wall. That's how crazy he was.
Yeah, but Ricky Henderson was just a different dude.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
He's definitely different.
Could you imagine something like that?
I would love to get $1 million check.
Oh, man.
I'm just saying. You know what we'd be doing? Hookers and blow. Hookers and blow. That's all we're doing.
Are you serious?
Yeah. We got $1 million. We're tricking for sure, bro. We're going. Hey, we're going to Vegas and we're ripping it up and down that strip. Hookers and blow. Think about it.
I'm going to for a long time. $1 million would be nice. Please let me hit that 120 million mega millions.
Show me the money.
It's that time of the show. I have caught up to you. My last week's performance was better than yours. I have gotten into a groove. I've gotten into a groove. So we're at 10-10 as we speak. For those that are new to the show, Adam and I, we pick NFL games versus the spread, and we each pick 3 games in the regular round, and the Jock has decided that we have to pick, with the 4th pick, the Lions game versus the spread, and that game is worth the extra 2 points. We will tally up the scores, and then the loser will have to don the jersey of either Michigan or Michigan State, depending on our allegiance. The Doc has allegiance to Michigan State, so should I lose, I will have to don the U of M jersey. And the Jock is, as you heard earlier, is very passionate about Michigan. He would have to don the Michigan State jersey should he lose. Cuz you got to step up your game. Last week wasn't that great.
I know, last week was just awful. I looked like that Michigan team, just setting myself on fire and rolling around in flames. So hopefully you sit there and you strike out a little bit this week and I can catch back up and take the lead here.
All right. My first pick, I like the Atlanta Falcons all around. I like the way they play.
Did you get a hold of my sheet beforehand?
Dude, because, I mean, when you look at the sheet and you see Atlanta plus versus the Giants, you got to pick it. So the Falcons, potentially on any given game, can roll up 30 points. Matt Ryan, I had him last year in fantasy, is just a great quarterback.
He looks like a stud this year.
Developing nicely. He is leading that team, and they're playing the Giants on the road. The Giants, I think, have a chance to play well. They're turning it around. The Giants are using the West Coast offense, and they're trying to be more efficient. Eli Manning, 70% of passer efficiency. That's not bad. But I don't think they have enough to keep up with the Falcons. So that's why I'm saying Atlanta +4 with my first pick.
That's my very first pick on my sheet. I like Atlanta going on the road. In New York, I'm going to take Atlanta as well.
Another team with a great quarterback that basically kept me in my last fantasy matchup is Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck is living up to all the hype.
Riding this Colts train.
Oh, you have to. He's number 2 overall fantasy quarterback and is averaging 350 yards and 2 and 3 touchdowns a game. I'm loving it. I think that's going to be my keeper. I think I took him like in the 5th or 6th round, so I'm going to have to keep him. They're playing Baltimore, and they're playing them at home. So I like Indianapolis in a rout in that game. I think that Indianapolis is a prolific offense. I think they're playing great, and so I'm taking, with my second pick, the Indianapolis Colts -3.5 versus Baltimore.
Sticking to great quarterbacks, I'm going to go a little bit different direction. This quarterback looks totally confused. He looks frustrated. This team can't seem to figure it out. I'm going to say the Pats, who just look in all sorts of disarray. They're coming off a short week. They're taking on the Bengals. The Bengals look like a team who might be a playoff, possibly a Super Bowl contender. The Pats are at home. They are sitting there getting 1.5, and I am not even thinking about taking Tom Brady, who I love his gorgeous mansion and his beautiful beard. I'm not even thinking about taking the Pats. I'm going with the Bengals on the road in Gillette Stadium, laying 1.5.
It looks like there's a chance Sean Hill will make his return for the Rams. They are going to Philadelphia in a rabid environment. Usually I'm a guy that likes to take the points, but I think Philadelphia is going to be looking to rebound from that game versus San Francisco, and they're going to play lights out football versus the Rams. So I got, with my third pick, the Philadelphia Eagles -7.5 over the Rams.
All right, with my third pick, it's the Thursday night matchup. We all love football. We get it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even Monday. This Thursday, we got our own little NFC North divisional rivalry with the Green Bay Packers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. It's a toss-up. I love what Aaron Rodgers is doing. He's playing nasty. They seem to have figured it out in Green Bay. I think Green Bay wins at home over the Minnesota Vikings.
Not bad, because Asiata is a threat.
That's your boy.
I picked him up, and he's done pretty well. Got 27 fantasy points. My fantasy. Have you ever lost a fantasy game by a single point?
Yeah, I lost a championship to my sister by 1 point in the fourth quarter when Marshawn Lynch decided to go crazy.
My week 4 fantasy is horrendous. I was down by 20 with only Jamal Charles versus my father-in-law, who had Gronk. Jamal Charles goes balls to the wall and is like, I'm only down 5. I'm only down 4. I'm in the lead. I'm like, yes. I'm like, please, Gronk, no touchdown.
And Gronk got that BS touchdown.
I'm texting on my friends, no touchdown, no touchdown. I look, 131 to 130, I lost. And you know what's really pissing me off? That Niall Davis is getting under my skin, taking away the numbers of my players. I mean, I have a rule. I don't play guys that split time. But Niall Davis is strong. He got 90 yards rushing himself. New England was that bad because they gave up pretty much 90 yards to Jamal Charles and 3 touchdowns, and another 90 yards to Niall Davis. Come on now. Jamal Charles is a freak, and I love playing him, but playing him in combination with Vernon Davis is going to give me a heart attack this year. Either one of them can go out anytime. If Vernon Davis just catches one pass for 10 yards before he, goes out of the game, I can't play him. I might even drop him. I might drop Vernon Davis outright just to play a guy, Zach Ertz, who gets 1 and 2 points. Everyone who's out there is like, Zach Ertz is going to have a breakout year. He's a tight end. Everyone loves their tight end, except in Philadelphia. They don't throw to him. 1, 2, 1. He's not doing jack. But if I had played him, he got 2 points. I would have won.
Yeah, see what happens? Leave that on your bench. Look what happens.
And look what happens. Now, this week is of utmost importance because you're in my division and I play you again.
I know.
So our division's tight. I'm in front of the division at 3-1, and you and the father-in-law are sitting there 2-2. My father-in-law's team, cause he could be a sleeper. He could put up 150 points.
Is the last 3 years, he has no idea what's really going on, and then all of a sudden, he's like the dark horse. This guy seems to put it together.
He knows what's going on.
He knows what's going on.
He's picked up some guys that have dropped. He's dropped over 100 points the last couple weeks. And
I know. He's got a dangerous team.
He's got a nice team. I like it. So this week's gonna be fun to watch, and check out our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com, for fantasy studs and duds every single week, and you'll get a heads up on your opponents for sure. All right, cuz we're at that point in time. It looks like, the Lions are favorites versus the Bills. I like it because it's going to make it interesting. The spread looks like it is 7.5. So, do the Lions defeat the Bills and cover the spread? I think so. I think that the Lions at home this season are going to be one tough mother. So I'm thinking that it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 38-17. I think that the motivation for this game will be to show what a jerk and what an idiot Jim Schwartz was. I think that Jim Schwartz's exit was at the right time. We got a great new head coach. We got a great new defensive coordinator, and we got the right system. And I think in Detroit, it's going to be a great day. So with my fourth pick, I got the Lions -7.5 over the Bills.
All right, I'm not straying too far from you. EJ Manuel has been benched. The Bills are coming to Detroit, getting 7.5. The Lions have the 6th best rush defense. They've got the 2nd best pass defense. Also, Detroit's got the 12th best offense, as well as the 7th best passing offense. Buffalo has the 25th ranked pass defense. I think Detroit blows out Buffalo by at least 10. I think they kick off the second quarter of this season with a win, and I'm taking the Detroit Lions to sit there and steamroll the Buffalo Bills and their old coach, Jim Shitbag Schwartz.
Now, before we exit this podcast, I got something I want to show you.
Is it naked pictures?
I wish. No. This is what a nice $15 will get you at Spartan Stadium.
Oh, is that your little popcorn bucket?
It's a Rose Bowl popcorn bucket that I bought at halftime. I was like, oh my God, I seen 4 or 5 people roll up on the stands with them. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get one. So I go in there. Man, the stalest, saltiest popcorn I've ever eaten in my whole life, but
it was worth it, wasn't it?
Worth every single penny. I dumped the whole bucket out just for this bad boy. I bought a mug. I bought a mug too, but adding to my sports collection, the 2014 Rose Bowl game champions popcorn tub in the house.
I think you should take a picture of that and tweet that out to everybody.
Will do, baby. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. This has been episode 60 of the Detroit Sports Podcast.
Go Tigers, go Lions. You know what? He had his thumb in his butt. I have an issue with my penis. It's not that hard. What the hell's going on here? This is bad. Hookers and blow. Think about it.